Yes, my name is James Randi, which you probably already guessed. And I am a magician by trade, but we're going to tell you more about that in just a moment. I received all kinds of recognition awards from all around the world. And one that I received I'm particularly proud of. I was reminded of it just the other day by an astronomer friend. You see, back in 1996, I had an asteroid named after me. How about that? And it's called, what is it? Oh yes, asteroid Randi, you see. That was logical and rational, and that's what they called it. And I've often said to some of these psychics, if you don't behave yourself, I'll drop my asteroid on you. I don't know how I would do that, but I'll work on it. At the time, I had the great pleasure of calling Sir Arthur C. Clarke. He lived in Sri Lanka. And I said, Arthur, I'm all excited. The International Astronomical Union has just named an asteroid after me. And he paused for a moment on the phone, dramatically, and he said, yes, it is a great thing to have happen. I had my asteroid named 8 years ago. Well, I decided to research that. This is the kind of thing I do, you see. I called the International Astronomical Union, spoke to them on the phone, and I said, I'd like to know as much as I can about asteroid Clarke and asteroid Randi. And I had the great delight of emailing Arthur. I didn't phone him on the telephone. I thought he might be a little annoyed. I emailed him and I said, Arthur, I just researched the matter, and it turns out that your asteroid is 120 kilometers on a side. Mine is 140 kilometers on a side. Arthur, my asteroid is bigger than your asteroid. Well, thank you. Well, there's not much distinction in that, but come to think of it, Arthur didn't talk to me for about a year after that, so maybe he was a little annoyed about it. Now, I have a certain expertise. It's specialized expertise. I am not a scientist. I do have an honorary degree from the University of Indianapolis. It's a degree in humane letters. Folks, I have no idea what that means. It's an honorary degree, and I'm very proud of it, yes, but honorary letters, that's really something. I don't even know what the letters are. They may be A through E, I'm not sure, but I accept it with great pride. So I am not an academic. I'm a magician by trade. Now let me explain what I mean by that. By the way, are there other magicians in the audience? Obviously, a couple of them right here, up close. All right, and a few others, wonderful. Okay, and these gentlemen here will agree with me, I'm sure, that we know certain things about the psychology of our audiences that psychologists sometimes don't know. One thing that I learned very early on in studying the art of being a magician, it's better called conjuring. That's what the English term is. It's not used in America at all. They think that that's some sort of a farm dance or something like that. They're not sure. But it turns out that we know as magicians that people make assumptions. Let me explain that now. We do tend to make assumptions. We look at a situation, we draw a conclusion from it, and sometimes we do that very quickly, and then we act on that conclusion. You see, with our audiences, we magicians will suggest things to them. Now, you may do that by something like just merely looking at a different part of the stage, and the audience often looks over there because he must know what he's looking at. I wonder what's over there. They make assumptions that the place I look is where things are happening, and it can be over here, you see. But people do make assumptions easily when we suggest them. I have studied this art, the psychology of the average member of the audience, for quite some time now. And I found very early on in the profession, you never say to somebody, I have here an ordinary deck of cards. Why? Because that suggests to them that maybe it's not an ordinary deck of cards. No, what you do is you simply open the box and you shuffle up the cards and you continue talking, and they make the assumption again that it's an ordinary deck of cards. Now, it may or may not be. That's not my point. The point is that if you don't insist on something and draw their attention to it, they will tend to ignore it. I've seen this happen so many times. But we have to make assumptions in our lives. Every one of us has to make assumptions. Because if you don't make certain assumptions, you become catatonic. I'll give you an example of that. I travel all over the world, as I said, and I can tell you with great certainty, there is a universal set of rules out there about traffic lights. A red traffic light means stop. A green traffic light means go. And an amber traffic light means go like hell. You all know that. But these are universal symbols. So I put to you this hypothetical situation whereby you're standing in a strange country, in a strange city, and you're standing at the curb and ready to cross the street, and you look around and you see the traffic lights. Oh, it's red. Now it changes green. And so you confidently step forward. But wait a minute now. You step forward because you assume that the road is solid. It's not made out of quicksand or mud or something like that. You step confidently onto the street because you've made the assumption. Now, when you folks came in here, I was sitting down here and I watched you come in here. You came down the aisle and you went in and you sat down in your seat. But not one of you put down a hand to see that the seat was solid and would support you. You didn't have to. This is a theater. It's a well-established theater. You can make the assumption that it's solid, but nobody here tested it. I hope nobody fell on the floor. But you see, there's another assumption that you make so very easily. Making assumptions is okay, and as I say, you can be totally helpless if you don't do something like that. Now, you've already made a couple of assumptions about me. No, this is the real beard. Many people say, are you wearing the real beard tonight? This is the real one. You could tug on it if you want. And rich widows can tug on it any time they want. I've got my eyes open, you know. And yes, I actually wore the real beard here today, but you made another assumption about me. For example, you made an assumption that I was using this microphone, which is not a microphone. Oh, thank you. The microphone is here under my tie. Notice? But when I came out here, I pretended to switch it on. I was actually touching the microphone, not this microphone. What is this? Well, this is actually a beard trimmer, you see, and I'm not going to trim my beard now. That comes after the show. But you see, you made a simple assumption like that, and I don't blame you for that. Perfectly safe. It didn't cost you anything. You've made another assumption, however. You assume that I can see you, and I cannot because I have rather poor eyesight. I normally wear glasses. These are not glasses. These are just empty frames. No lenses. Now, why would a grown man like this come out in front of an intelligent audience like this and wear glasses that have no lenses in them? To prove a point, ladies and gentlemen. To prove that you will make these assumptions very easily just on suggestion. Now I have my real, oh God, they're ugly. I didn't realize that. They're not as beautiful as I thought. Now I can see you, so watch it. I'm going to take down names and make drawings. So you see, you do make assumptions, and I think I probably have proven my point. But we at the James Randi Educational Foundation, which we refer to as the JREF, J-R-E-F, we fight astrology, we fight the art of speaking to the dead. Anyone can speak to the dead, but will they answer? That's the problem. Hello? Nothing. Well, I mean, hello? Nothing. My friends would all be down here, I can assure you of that. We fight things like prophecy, predicting the future, from things like the stock market all the way to hockey scores, and curing illnesses by magic charms and such, giving advice on all kinds of critical matters, using tarot cards and crystal balls, all these various things that are advertised to you by the media all the time. And love and marriage, anything They will give you advice on these things. And I can tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, it's all nonsense, fraud, and misinformation. And this evening, I hope I can establish that some of that, at least, is true. In the USA, this is confession time now. Brandon and I are U.S. citizens, and we have to admit to you, we're trying to recover from an administration that lasted for 8 years, and it bashed science. It was led by a man named George Bush. Yes, Bush, I remember, yes. It bashed science because it was based on faith-based thinking. Oh, really? Well, there are two kinds of faith. In English, at least, there are certainly two kinds of faith. One is faith in something that has evidence to support it. But that's not what George Bush depended on. He depended on faith-based thinking and actions. He didn't have any evidence for what he was saying and thinking and what his philosophy was, but he acted on it anyway. I ask you, when you have faith that something is likely to happen, when you have dependence on something, look for evidence. If you don't, you may be making a very big mistake. Now, there is something that I understand is popular in this country. It varies all over the world. In the United States, it's not so big right now. In England, it's not very big either. But in this country, I'm told that interest in UFOs is very strong. Now, what do we mean by UFOs? It stands for unidentified flying objects. Folks, you see these every day. An airplane passes over, you look up, and you don't know whether that's a plane going to Liberia or Australia. You have no idea. It's a flying object and it's unidentified. But of course, what we understand by that in the literature is that it's probably from another planet or from another galaxy, certainly another solar system someplace. That's what the woo-woos out there will tell you. I use the word woo-woo to describe anybody who believes in everything automatically. No matter how good or bad it is, I believe in that. Oh, yes, I'm a woo-woo. Well, UFOs, there's no question of it, UFOs do exist. You see a flash of light in the sky, a quick flash of light, like a spark passing over the sky dark at night, yes. But that's probably a meteorite. Or it could be a re-entering asteroid or something way the heck out there. But you assume that it's not a spaceship. Now think of the spaceship idea. Suppose that other creatures from other parts of the galaxy are visiting us, or other planets for that matter. If they come from other galaxies, the very closest star to our planet and to our solar system is Alpha Centauri, and it's more than 2 light years away. How far is a light year? Wow. Since light travels at, I know it in miles, I think it's about 300,000 kilometers or something a second, that's pretty fast, folks. And a light year, pardon me, is the distance that light travels in a year. You do the multiplication for me, okay? That's a very, very big figure. An enormous figure that you really cannot imagine. And if the nearest civilization to us has to be out someplace like 2 light years away, more than that, it would take many lifetimes of even the longest living creature to get here. They'd have to have several generations going on for them. And the other question that I never hear anybody advance is, are we sure they would want to come and see us? Yeah, we've got 3D movies now and a few things like that. That's nice, but they probably had that a long time ago, if they exist. Now, I had a discussion with the late Carl Sagan. He's a good friend of mine. He did introductions to a couple of my books, as a matter of fact. And Carl and I at Cornell one afternoon, we had a bit of a discussion, and we agreed pretty well that it's impossible to conceive that there are not other forms of life out there somewhere, because of the billions upon billions and billions of galaxies, and each galaxy consisting of the possible planets by the thousands and thousands. So there must be other forms of life out there. And they